you can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality. At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go.
Good morning, Set to Love community. Really happy to have my friend Alicia Ayala back this morning. She's amazing. She's a transformational life coach. She helps women to take control of their life with confidence. And also, she's a writer and an amazing speaker. And so today we're going to talk about your story, your power. And so I'm sure it's going to be really, really powerful. But before we start, and Alicia, you can say a little bit about yourself to those people that don't know you. I want to say good morning to Eva and also to you. So good morning, girls. Everybody have their coffee and we're ready to have a little chat.
Yes, good morning. Thank you guys so much for having me again. Like I mentioned before we started, this totally fills my cup and just love starting the day with these conversations.
Yes. And conversations sometimes are so thought-provoking. And I think that's the part I love about our, some things that will end up coming up in our conversations. They're things you don't really think about. And I love that we're so random that sometimes it'll take one turn. You just never know. So that's why I said, everybody have their coffee ready. I know Eva this morning is still with her sister. She's such a great sister, helping out by wallpapering, and her sister bought a new home. So if Eva isn't here completely, for everyone who loves to listen to our sweet Eva, it's because she's in the background this morning, and sometimes there might be some mic issues. So it's not that she doesn't want to speak the way she normally does. It's just because this is the way it is. That's what you got to do when you help your sister. So love you, Eva.
I'm grateful to be here, even if I sound weird. So Alicia, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what is this personal power, or this your story, your power? I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite topics. And it's something that I've been, speaking a little bit more about as I've sort of honed this message. But I want to just take one step back and, for people that don't know me, I'm a corporate leader turned, spiritual entrepreneur. I took a leap last August and left a 22-year corporate career to go into this space of coaching, speaking, and writing. And it had been what was on my heart, but I was so afraid to do it and leave sort of the comfort of what I'd been doing for 22 years. But as I've told other people, what was once a whisper became sort of a yell, a shout, and a shove. And I no longer sort of had a choice. And so everything is about, empowering women to rise up above their story. And I believe your story is your power. And, for a long, long time, I think where this sort of originated from, for a long time, I was sort of stuck in my story. I sort of believed that my story had so much negative connotation, and it was a weakness of mine that I sort of, and I think culturally we sort of have this idea that, don't look backwards, just move forward, don't feel, and, maybe just keep sort of face forward and ignore. And so I shoved this story down really, really far, and really didn't want to sort of acknowledge it, and believed that it wasn't affecting who I am and where I'm at right now. And why I think this is important is because I think a lot of us do this. And we all have things that have happened in our lives, and we tell ourselves a story about whatever it is. And your story doesn't need to be the same as mine. It's whatever the story is. And our story is so much bigger than just our past and what has happened, right? It's our present, it's our future, it's all of the things. And so when I was finally able to sort of step out and witness and acknowledge my story, I became really connected to my own personal power and my ability. And I believe so many of us all of us have personal power, but I believe many of us are stuck in our story that we can't actually connect to it. And so that's what I wanted to dive into a little bit today. And that sort of gives a background of like what this concept is.
Wow, it's so true. When we do have a negative story, regardless of whether it's divorce or, there's been a death or whatever. And when you stay stuck and you don't move forward, I mean, it's just like yesterday we were talking to someone, what was it? Roberto? I can't remember his name now. It just went blank, but Roman. Yes, it was Roman. It was such an amazing guy. But the whole point was he didn't stay stuck in his story, and he said, had he unfortunately if he would have taken his life, he wouldn't be a father. He wouldn't be all of these things. And so basically what you're saying is if you rise above it, no matter how negative it is that right? Like,
yes. I think it's first, I truly believe that we all are part of us. We need to be witnessing our own story, and it needs to be witnessed because I think that these experiences happen to us for the lessons, but oftentimes we can't even glean those lessons because we're running from it. So like in my case, I suffered childhood abuse. And I believed that it was my fault. And there was so much shame and guilt around it that it took me until I was 38 to actually just acknowledge it and say it out loud. And now I'm speaking more about it because I think there is 60% of society that has had an adverse childhood experience. 60% of the population is probably struggling with something similar. And again, it doesn't need to be the same story, but by me not actually acknowledging that this had happened and just trying so feverishly to move forward, I was actually stuck and I was actually spinning and I was actually not in control of my life. And so the moment that I acknowledged and witnessed what had happened, accepted it. And now that doesn't mean that I'm saying like, oh, this was the best thing that happened to me. I'm not saying it needs to be this sort of like, we don't need to make every negative a positive, right? But there was so much I could learn from this experience and what this actually gave me. And by acknowledging it, I was able to actually tap into this power that I already had, but by not witnessing who I actually was, it was actually making me, it was separating me from who I actually am.
So I have a question for you then. In this acknowledgement process, what does that look like for you? Is that journaling? Is that telling your husband?
Yep.
Is that speaking it on a podcast? What does acknowledging even look like?
Yeah, honestly, I think so acknowledging, I think, can be as simple as like literally just acknowledging it to yourself. Like, this has happened to me and accepting it. So for me, I had been going to therapy for about 15 years, but in this entire therapeutic process, I had never actually, even to the therapist, acknowledged that this had happened. I was there because of these other sort of surrounding issues, but they all stemmed from this one thing that I was not actually even speaking into existence. And so I think acknowledging can be simply just stating it, telling a friend. It can be going to a therapist. It can be journaling it. I'm reading this amazing book called Quantum Change. And it talks about this thing of like people just one day waking up and literally just acknowledging what has happened in their life can be completely transformative. So it could be something quiet. I think it really comes down to who you are as a person and what works for you. But it could be as simple as just acknowledging it to yourself. For me, this, when I sort of accepted this, I accepted it. And then I gave a talk to 85 women and shared it in a very open way. And for me, that is what I needed to do, because I needed to be witnessed for what has happened, because I wasn't witnessed as a child that this had happened to me. And it needed to be known more publicly that this is my truth.
So you know your truth. I'm wondering, what did you really learn about yourself, though, personally, which is also what's probably given you your power? But I'm interested to know what did you learn about yourself that you had this in you, and maybe give somebody an idea of how they could find it.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I learned about myself, right, was just the sheer fact that I survived this, was able to live a highly functional life and give my children a life that was completely different than how I grew up, right? I actually changed generations to come, right? I believe that this was like almost a healing of my family and generations in a way. So it was very powerful to go, wow, like I made that choice. So I think there's sort of like 4 P's to this personal power. And I think the first one is taking personal responsibility. So like my personal responsibility here, like, okay, so this didn't, like, there's nothing I could have done about it, but I have a choice in how I respond and how I live my life. Right. Yes. And so taking that personal responsibility, I think, is such a critical piece, because it is easy. And it was easy for me for many years to feel very sorry for myself. Like, this happened to me. I'm a terrible person. I felt like I was unlovable on many levels. And it took me so much to some days to even just, to feel confident. But when I took personal responsibility to say, no, like, yes, this happened to me, I acknowledged it, but also, like, I get to choose. I get to choose what this means for me and my life. It doesn't mean that it's a death sentence. It just means this happened. And this is all in the past. And I get to change how I live today and the rest of my life, right? Absolutely. So many of us that have been through some sort of abuse, it's hard. It's like walking through quicksand to get through to the other side. And I honestly believe this personal responsibility is sort of the first step, which is you get to choose how you live your life. You get to decide. But you have to take a step.
Wow. Well,
that's awesome.
And you know what, like you said, taking that first step. And a lot of times what you need to realize, especially, is there's usually somebody to help you, give you a hand out. Yes. There's always usually someone there that if you just let them, they'll help pull you out of that quicksand and get you to the other side.
I totally agree.
That's
so
awesome.
What's our other P?
Yes. The next one.
So the next P is, I think, when we take responsibility. So what leads us to this next one, I think when we take this personal responsibility and we're like, okay, so I get to choose. Then when life starts happening or anything starts to occur in your life, your lens is different. And you start taking this sort of like steps, and you know that you have this choice, right? And some of this leads to you being naturally more curious. But I think the next P is personal development, right? It's listening, it's learning, it's growing, it's expanding in whatever way sort of, resonates with you as a person. I think as you start this personal development, but I think it's that personal responsibility first. I think personal development and continuing to grow and learn in who you are. But now you have this different lens. You're actually viewing the world much differently. So when an issue happens, when something occurs, you're so much more likely to go, I know how to solve this, or I know the step, or maybe I should do this. And that personal development helps you to walk your path to whatever the next thing is. And all of this leads to personal confidence. You become more confident in who you are. You become this person who is, okay, I know I can take a step. I know what I need to do. It might not be, it might not be perfect, but I'm going to take it. And you start to learn and grow. And it's sort of a cycle. I think as you go through this, you start to realize, and this is what happened for me, you realize your purpose. And your purpose is much bigger. And be with those 3 P's of personal responsibility, personal development, and purpose, you take this develop and cultivate this personal power. Now, I think we're all born with it, but that is how you ignite it. And a lot of it is coming through experiences as well.
Wow. Those are really, really good ideas. I definitely think what you said is so important, because I remember when Eva was going through some hard times in her life, and she would come in to see me for facials, but we would always talk about different podcasts, such as one like this, and putting some positive things and listening to positive people. There's Jay Shetty, there's Brene Brown. There's just, if you could find somebody that you can relate with, I think putting that positive things, just like what you're saying today, if it's a quick, great ideas, and might as well have positive things put in your head in the morning versus, start your day listening to somebody that's going to say something great.
I 100% agree. I think there's a lot of research showing, in the morning, starting out your day on this positive note, doing gratitude, doing journaling, and it doesn't have to be long. And I think we may have even talked about this, because I talk about this a lot, just having that time and space for you to fill your head, fill your mind, help to give you and start you off in this way of like positivity. It certainly helps your day, and you feel like you're unstoppable.
Yeah. Well,
so
Alicia,
true.
We are out of time. But I do want to say we love you so much.
Tell us the 4th one.
Oh, was there a 4th P that we missed?
It was purpose.
Purpose.
Oh, purpose. Okay. Wait, so just recap the 4.
Yep. Personal responsibility, personal development, personal confidence, purpose.
And
then
all
where
help us to cultivate personal power.
Alicia, can you let our viewers know where they can find you? And then I'll close this out.
Yep. You can find me on Instagram at its_Alicia_Ayala. I'm also on Facebook. It's Alicia Ayala. And I'm on LinkedIn as well with the same name.
Oh my gosh. We love you so much. We really do. I know we'll have you back again. Hopefully it's sooner than later. So everyone, thank you again for being here. We're here weekday mornings at 8:30 a.m. We're at settolove.com. If you'd like to email us, ask us a question, we're at settolovepodcast@gmail.com. You guys have a great day. Don't forget, subscribe and hit the bell.